The items that are considered other expenses. These expenses don't exactly fit into other categories, but are expenses that we have already had or will be having, such as the New York Times, USG orientation, funding system improvements, and community outreach outbreak training funding. As we fund at 50% of all community outreach outbreaks happening within the semesters. I hope this answers your question. Senator Douglas had 4 questions, so guarantee somewhere you'll get some answers. But the first one he asked was, why is the total budget down, seeing as more students are now enrolled? Comptroller answered, to take into consideration for emergency needs and to prepare for deficits in the future. Also to limit excessive USG funding. Second question, in previous years, the judicial branch has not had a budget. Why is that, and why do they have one this year? Comptroller answers, leadership and needs change semesterly. Sometimes funding is required, other times it isn't. All branches are considered to be eligible for funding if they need something for their duties. Third question was, are these budgets based on what the committees have already requested? She answered, some of the funds have been used for other needs. The committee chairs can elaborate. And then finally, where the budgeted items of fall 2017 and were the budgeted items of fall 2017 and spring 2018 all spent exactly this amount? If not, is there an accounting of the discrepancy, if any exists? The answer is no. Some needed more, others needed less. We take into account that it is a budget, and thus is another reason why there must be room for error on the total allocated amount. So those are all the questions, those are the answers. I'm going to continue on for a sec to point out that, like I said, we can amend this at any time. So if we feel that we have too much money or not enough, people can always request more or move down. And since this is indeed a budget, the amount of money we've allocated does not mean that is the amount of money we will be spending. I'm sure some of you noticed that right now we have allocated more money than we're directly taking in, but one, we do have a rollover from previous semesters to compensate for this, and two, nothing says that we will be spending all of this money, and in previous semesters we haven't spent all this money. This is just the money we have allocated to ensure that it's more like an upper limit than a hard cap. So with that, I will give the floor back to myself and ask if there are any more points of information or discussion items. All right, we have a motion to amend. What is your motion to amend?
I'd like to strike the line for the I stand for.
All right, so we have a motion to strike the I stand for initiatives. Is there a second to this motion? A second to Senator Reynolds. There will be discussion on after, yeah. So we'll now move into discussion on why Senator Tina feels the need to just. So please come up and explain.
Hey everyone, again. So I'm a member of student development, and just a little bit of background on why I decided to strike this is because we discussed this in our last meeting, I believe, and there was never a actual vote or motion or consensus of the committee to request this from comptroller or to actually fund this initiative. It was still something that was being debated within the committee, so that's why I'd like to strike it for now. We can always, as our teacher said, amend the budget later on if we decide it's something we want to do. But for now, it's not necessary to include the budget. I yield it.
We're going to move to Vice President. The other group can come up here and speak. You two are on this. Yep.
It was too tall for me. But just for clarification reasons, chairs do not necessarily have to get an approval from the committee to put things on the budget. Additionally, I have also been in the process of meeting with different cultural center representatives on this initiative. So this is really a coalition between the NAACP, a representative, the African American Cultural Center, and they're also working with all the other cultural centers on this initiative. they've made a lot of progress and have met with the directors, so I would really say that it's important for us not to strike that, especially since we need collaboration with the cultural centers and like, that's, sorry, I don't know, I'm still sick, sorry. The chair is not here right now, so that would be, in my opinion, very disrespectful to take this out of the budget without having a conversation about this with her, and that's a conversation that the committee can have later on, and also it'd be a bit backhanded in terms of the cultural centers that have been working on this for the past several weeks.
Thank you. Now you'll return to Chairperson Reynolds.
I definitely agree with Vice President Gatheru on what she said. It's important that our organization works with cultural centers, and the progress we're making, especially in student development, has been great and hopefully will continue in the future. And I really do like the intent of this initiative. However, in an executive committee meeting, I believe 2 meetings ago, we had the discussion about t-shirts and improving funding for student services. When it came to t-shirts for their mental health and illness awareness week, and the comptroller in discussion with the rest of the committee believed that the cost of t-shirts, which in this lineup would be $3,000, was not something that was in the best interest of the organization and for the executive committee to undertake. I believe if we hold that standard to student services, that we should hold that standard to all committees, that we should hold it to my own committee, where we had discussed buying t-shirts, but that the cost of it and the fact that we have many t-shirts still remaining and nowhere to put additional t-shirts, we decided that it would be fair to student services, to the rest of the committees, to go a different route. And I would also mention, in going along with this initiative, that there are other ways to promote this initiative that would be more cost efficient, where we can get promotional items, like my committee will be getting things like buttons and things that are more cost efficient, that get the same message across, but in a more cost efficient way, and in a way that's fair to all the committees in setting that standard. So I believe holding that standard, holding a fair standard to all the committees, and all the committees taking actions to be cost efficient is grounds for striking this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds, or Chairperson. Are there any other points of discussion? Senator Douglas.
On this initiative, I met with the president of the NCAA last night at our meeting. They were very appreciative of USG's intention to fund, going so far as to indicate that without USG assistance, this initiative and promoting it would be that much more difficult. I do want to say that Chairman Reynolds did make an excellent point, but I think that it would, in my opinion, it would better revisit the student services decision than to strike the funding as it is in the budget.
Thank you, Senator Douglas. Are there any other points of discussion? Points of information? Senator Revere.
Hi, so although I 100% agree that all committees should be held to the same standards, I think with the context involved, in this case, how it's a collaboration between a committee and then also another organization, that's what sort of separates this. Whereas, I mean, I'm in student services myself, like I would have loved for there to be t-shirts, but seeing as that was basically just the student services initiative, it's understandable that maybe that's held to slightly different standards than an initiative that's coinciding with a lot of other organizations. So, I yield my time. Thank you, Senator. Are there any other points of discussion? Senator Tina.
Okay, so just one last point. I by no means want to step on or expose or be backhanded or what have you about this initiative. I actually last spoke to Savera at orientation, and we both came to an agreement that NAACP mentioned at the student meeting was more of that they wanted funding for t-shirts, and when we actually asked about how we applied their effort, there really wasn't any description of how we would be credited or necessarily actually involved in the effort aside from funding the t-shirts. So to be blunt, in my opinion, it was more just an ask for money. I am all about supporting student organizations such as business, but not in that capacity. I like to be more collaborative, as Israel said, and hope we can do that going forward.
Thank you, Senator Ortino. Senator Beckles.
My apologies, I should have actually just mentioned this a moment ago. In my conversation with the president of the NCAA, we did talk about what that kind of collaboration would look like. Specifically, she did mention that she wouldn't expect USG to allocate any funds until we had hammered out that plan. With that in mind, I would still leave it in the budget for student services to appropriate when such a time comes as we have a plan to agree on
We have a point of what?
Inquiry.
Parliamentary inquiry?
I have a question about
Someone's.
So, say a question about what someone just said. Do I say it now? Or do I-
You can say point of information, Mr. Speaker. Can the member who just spoke clarify?
Yeah, okay, point of information.
Yes.
The member just spoke, clarify. Did you mean NAACP?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Got that.
So it seems like there's been a lot of back and forth on this. Before we go back into vote, I just want to explain this process and the way this works. So committee chairs meet with the comptroller to discuss the budget for the semester. They, in discussion with the comptroller, come to the decision on how much should be allocated. It then comes to Senate. If we choose to pass it, that money is allocated to them, but to actually be used for this specific initiative, it would still need to pass through student development. So even if we were to vote to affirm this here in Senate, it would by no means mean they get the money. The committee would still have to allocate the funds, and of course, since the committee is the one dealing with it more directly, they can make an assessment on how to set up that collaboration and deal with that sort of thing. So I just wanted to clarify how that process works and show that for new senators. So,
So, I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. If we do this right now, student development has $3,000 for this initiative, but it doesn't have to be for sure, they can allocate it to something else, and they just do that internally.
So no, I apologize. So it would have to be specifically used for shirts, but until a vote of that committee said we're going to spend that money on shirts, that money wouldn't be spent yet. So this isn't a motion to spend this money. This is a motion to say this money is yours to use should the committee choose to choose to use it. But they would still have to choose to use it through a vote of that committee.
Where are you getting the number 3,000 for new shirts? Isn't that a lot for just new shirts?
So I can't answer this question, to be frank. The comptroller is not here, and neither is the student development chair. I know that the process that we have to go through to buy things in general in USG, we have to have quotes from 3 different vendors of a certain price for, say, t-shirts, and then bring those to our bookkeeping staff, which is the official staff in the office, and they go through with us and talk about which one is the best to purchase before we then actually spend the money. Right? So this money is just being allocated in a budget. Think of it, like I said, as like a ceiling, right? It may not be $3,000. It may be, but I think that if I had to assume what was going on in that discussion, it would have been something along the lines of, we want to make sure we have enough money to fund this if we so choose to, but of course they're going to make sure they choose the most cost-effective option. Does that answer your question? Any other points or motions?
I have
have a motion for the previous question. What that means is I would like to end the debate on the motion. Usually you do this when debate goes on for a while, if people start saying the same things in just different words. So by saying I motion for the previous question, then we move immediately to a vote. And it needs a second.
So I'll give the second to Glassman. So now we're moving into a vote on to move to the previous question. All those in favor on moving to the previous question, say aye.
Aye.
All those,
Did we vote on that? There's an amendment.
we're moving to speak on the amendment now. Does that make sense? So we've had discussion on the amendment. So we're motioning to move into a vote of the, on the amendment. Yes. So we're not skipping over, nice. We're not skipping over anything. We're just making sure that everything is laid out properly. So now, this vote will just be to move back into the amendment that was being discussed earlier. So all those in favor of moving to the previous question, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Okay, so now we're back to, coming to a vote on whether or not to approve the amendment that has been suggested. This amendment would be to strike the line item that it says, I stand for initiative shirts in the collaboration with the NAACP. So, as we move to discussion and move to the previous question, we're now going to move into a vote on this motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, so I'm actually going to call division on that. I want people to raise their hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand. So I talked about this a little earlier, but division just means that you don't think a voice vote of the body does us justice, and we want to make sure, I want to make sure as the chair that I get an accurate vote count. So I've called division. Everyone who's in favor of this, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4. So 4 in favor of the motion. All those against, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16. I assume that's holding it up. 17. 17 against. Any abstentions? 2 abstentions. And then the Can we finish this vote? Yeah, I just want to make sure. Okay, so, and in the opinion of the chair, the nays have it and the motion fails. So, to answer your point, abstentions are just if you feel that you've gone back and forth on this and you really don't know either you or your constituents would want to vote, you don't feel comfortable saying yay or nay on a bill and just would rather abstain from it. It's something that frankly, you shouldn't do often. You should, as often as possible, advocate your position. But if you feel that you cannot do that for whatever reason, then you, of course, have the right to abstain from the vote. And your vote doesn't count towards the yeas or the nays. It's just its own thing. So, does that answer your question? Okay. So now we go back to the consideration of the budget as a whole. Are there any other points or motions considering this budget? Senator Rodin. You have made a motion to amend. Which particular area? There's a motion to change wherever it says executive committee to governing board. Do we have a second for that motion? Second goes to Moore. So now we will move into discussion.
Okay, so this one isn't as contentious. I apologize for the last one, I guess. So for a little bit of background for anyone who's new or wasn't aware, last year we had an entire rewrite of the Constitution, our governing documents for USG, and that included a lot of different things from me, like title changes and such. So basic layout of USG, 3 branches: legislative, judicial, executive. The governing board is sort of a triad of all 3, but it's separate from all 3. The reason why we changed the name from what used to be executive committee to what is now governing board is to reduce confusion amongst outside or uneducated, rather, members of USG, et cetera. So the reason was that people were confusing executive committee with executive board, or seeing as we have an audit coming up, I want this to be ubiquitous with the governing documents at hand that we have currently, which don't recognize anything named the executive committee, only the governing board. So, that's all. I open my.
Thank you, Senator Ortiz. Is there any discussion on this one? Or better yet, would the authors and sponsors of this bill accept this amendment as friendly? Comptroller is not here, so I guess she really can't. But we'll move into discussion on this. Seeing no discussion, we'll move into a vote on changing executive to committee to read governing board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Motion carries. So now we're back to the consideration of the overall budget. Are there any other points or motions to be considered? Anyone wish to do any more discussion? All right, so we'll now move into a vote on the budget. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. You can clap. So now we will move into the next item on the agenda, which is a motion to confirm the deputy speaker. I'm going to need a motion. Motion goes to Koblish, second goes to Worsley. So, before I go into this, I'm going to yield to myself because I, as Speaker, nominated Deputy Speaker. I just want to speak on how this process was done, not only for Deputy Speaker, but for Legislative Coordinator. So, last week on Wednesday, Parliamentarian Contreras and I solicited letters of intent from all senators to apply to be both Deputy Speaker and Legislative Coordinator. We set the deadline for that to be at 12 o'clock on Monday, which we ended up moving back to 5 p.m. on Monday. Once we got all those letters of intent in, we considered, for Deputy Speaker, we considered the letter of intent and the applicant's history in the organization, as well as how they've worked in the past. And we deliberated not just between us, but I with my advisor upstairs from Tier 3 to ensure a process that is impartial as well as most beneficial to this organization. So with all of that in consideration, I would now like to nominate Damani Douglas to be my Deputy Speaker. You can stand up. Does the nominee accept the nomination? So I'm going to take a moment to speak in favor of the nominee. So the first I heard from Damani as a freshman was actually an email from him in my inbox telling me that he thought it was ridiculous, frankly, that members of a body could not vote in favor of the minutes, even if they were not present at the meeting. Now, of course, I disagreed with this, and we went on to have a back and forth on this discussion. But his knowledge of Robert's rules and that sort of parliamentary procedure became obvious to me through that. Furthermore, when I had the pleasure of sitting on one of the student services meetings, he ended up coming up with a whole presentation about how he thought that the paper straws that we were using in our dining halls were wrong. We should use different paper straws. And while his heart was eventually crushed by Parliamentarian Contreras, his passion was obvious. And the fact that he had done so much research and was so passionate about that was clear to me. And on top of that all, he's a freshman, young, ready to be a part of this organization and willing to learn. So for those reasons, I believe him to be an eminently qualified candidate for Deputy Speaker. So with that, I will yield to any points of discussion or questions.
I just want to speak on behalf of the candidate. First, I want to clarify, I did not necessarily crush his heart. He was researching on changing like the jumbo plastic straws that we had into like paper straws, and the ones that we were using were like really just weak or whatever. And then I told him, we already did that. We appreciate your concern and research, but that's already been done. So that's why it seems like I'm a terrible person, but I'm not, I swear. But that being said, said, like Damani has been nothing but active in services, and USG in general. I have the pleasure of sitting down with him a couple of times and just talking to him about his ideas and his beliefs and everything for his organization. I just feel that he is the right candidate, the best candidate for this position, and I have nothing but good things to look forward to.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Contreras. Any other points of discussion? Questions for the nominee? Yeah. Senator Ortiz,
So, just real quick, Senator,
point of information. Sorry, you're asking a point of information.
were you to speak on
Yeah.
as the candidate or the nominee?
Mhm.
What are some of the goals you have?
So, thank you. I accept your yield, and you may stand and answer. You can come up here.
Before I answer your question, I'd love to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the nomination. This year, I first off, I want to learn a lot about what this organization is, what it does, how it operates. I've heard, as the Secretary kind of alluded, not Secretary, Speaker kind of alluded to, I did kind of look back through what the history of USG is, mainly by the minutes, and I saw a lot of great things that I want to be a part of this year. For example, the NAACP, that was right after initiative that we were talking about previously. I want to get involved in a lot of those kinds of initiatives this year. In addition, I also want to learn more about how this body works, and the position of Deputy Speaker would be very good.
Senator Moore.
Speaker, I'd like to ask a nominee question.
Of course.
So, Senator Douglas, you are a rep, of course. So what experience, maybe in high school or in other areas you have in a parliamentary setting that you think well prepared you to?
Last year, I was also involved in my student government. I ran what we called the Solutions Committee at that point, which was our kind of legislative arm. We loosely followed Robert's rules then. In middle school, I was a founding member of our Model UN Club, in which I was actually formally exposed to Robert's rules. In fact, I helped teach the members who maintain that club Robert's rules today. And then I also received additional exposure at Boise. Big fan of Robert's rules in general and legislative procedure, which is a boring thing to be a fan of, but I am.
Any further questions for the nominee? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on the confirmation. All those in favor of the nomination of Damani Douglas to Deputy Speaker signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion fair enough, one abstention from the nominee. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Congratulations. Next, we will move into a motion to confirm the legislative coordinator. Do we have a motion? Motion goes to Morris, second goes to me. So I will we will move into discussion. I'll once again speak a little on what this position is and how we came to our decision. So the legislative coordinator in past years and in this year will be someone who helps all of you senators take your ideas and transform them into legislation in the proper format and the format best likely to pass through Senate. Right? In previous years, we've noticed that the same 2 or 3 people tend to pass legislation because they're the only ones comfortable with it, and it leaves everyone else in the body feeling uncomfortable and unwilling to participate. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen this year. So Parliamentarian Contreras and I decided that it would be a good idea to have a legislative coordinator position this year to be filled. As for the process, it was very similar to the Deputy Speaker. We ended up having people apply in through letters of intent. Once that was done, we ended up meeting with the candidates to talk about their qualifications for the position, as unlike Deputy Speaker, this deals specifically with your ability to write legislation and have written legislation. We don't want something being taught that's wrong. So we want to make sure that the nominee was somebody who held all those things. And once again, we did this in consultation, not just between me and Parliamentarian Contreras, but also my advisor to ensure impartiality in the matter. And through all that, we decided that Josh Rotina would be legislative coordinator. If he will accept the nomination, please stand. State if you do. Accepts the nomination. So I will take a moment to discuss the nominee. So back last year when I was a freshman, first time I was ever writing legislation, this man here was the one who taught me how to do it. And I remember being so intimidated, and actually at the first Senate, I had the pleasure of presenting a bill with Senator Reynolds that was woefully just shot down almost unanimously. But fortunately for us, that might have been the end of our tenure in this organization, and if not for Senator Rotina coming to us and making sure that we felt comfortable writing legislation and going forward being passionate members of that body. And to that end, I can imagine no better candidate for this role than him. So, that's my piece. Are there any points of discussion or questions for the nominee?
I have a question for the nominee, Senator Rotina. I just want to ask you specifically, what kind of things do you want to implement or continue during your time as legislative coordinator if you are confirmed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. That's very curious for that question. So the main thing I really want to do this year is just simplify the whole legislative process. In past years, I've noticed that it tends to be, as the speaker alluded to, veterans or the older members of USG that sort of run it and pass legislation, same three people, was kind of that person. But really, it's not an intimidating process at all. Like, just because you're a senator in this organization, or I'm sorry, a new senator or a freshman in this organization, doesn't mean you can't make huge changes. And I want to teach you all how to write legislation so that you don't have to rely on me. Obviously, be there for whatever you need help, any kind of question or anything, but I want to teach you all so you know how to do it, because it's not that hard. And if you don't know how to do it, then you can all make changes for them. So, pretty much it.
Senator Reynolds?
So for this position in Senate leadership, it's important to realize that a big part of this will be outreach to returning members and to new members. What do you think are important qualities for this position, especially dealing with people who are new to the organization and people who are learning how this organization works?
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, accept the question. I'll yield to you.
Excellent question. Thank you, Chairperson Reynolds. So that's a really good question. That's kind of what we discussed in the interview yesterday, actually. So I think one of the biggest factors that I'm going to implement is just impartiality. This is something I also utilized last year. So even if there's legislation I'm working on with one of you guys, one of you people that I don't agree with, I'm not going to let that affect my ability to aid you in the process of passing that or submitting that to the Senate. I think that people's ideas often get shot down because they think it's not a good idea because of others' opinions. Stick to your guns. If you really believe in what you're writing, then go for it. You get shot down, you judge or read one of the debate, content, not character. So it's not a big deal to get shot down.
Thank you. Are there any further questions for the nominee? Any other points of discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of the confirmation of Joshua Atina to the position of legislative coordinator, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? One from the nominee. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Congratulations. Now, we are asked to consider a motion to confirm Fiorella Contreras, Ethan Worsler, Nandan Tumu, Dylan Demura, and Ama Avia to University Senate. We have a motion. Motion goes to Tiberio, second goes to Knight. Now for the discussion, I will yield to President Avia to speak on behalf of the nominees.
And then Ethan Worsler. I was very impressed by his letter of intent. You can tell that he's a very diligent, hardworking person who's very passionate about everything he does. So I'm excited to work with you this year, and I'm excited to see what you do in University Senate. So. Then there's me. I don't know if I'm really qualified, I guess. I don't know, I just thought I'd do it, so, right? But yes, so those are the nominees.
Thank you, President Avia. Is there any discussion on the nominees? Well, first, actually, I'd like to ask all the nominees to stand. All the nominees are here to stand and accept the nomination. Do you accept?
I do.
Do you? I assume you accept your own nomination. And can you accept? Do you accept?
I do.
And can you accept on behalf of the nominee who's not here? All right. So in that case, well accepted. Now, are there? You can all sit down if you'd like. Are there any other points of discussion? Anyone? Any announcements? Yes.
Just for the sake of the minutes, I just want to point out that this is the third time now we should have the opportunity to vote on former Senator Dale onto this committee. I just wanted it out there that I'm very happy that we finally had that opportunity. I just wanted to thank you.
I appreciate that. All right. Are there any other points or motions? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of the nominations, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? If you're the nominee, you should abstain. There you go. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Congratulations to all of you. So next, we will move into, we're asked to consider a motion to confirm, oh gosh, I'm going to this. I'm so sorry. Trinity Nine, thank you, I appreciate that, Deputy. And Dolore Tarpe to the Scholastic Standards. I'm sure I'm going to yield again to President Avila to speak on the nominee. I'm sure she'll say their names correctly.
Okay, so Trinity is a new member, and they're very enthusiastic about serving on this committee, and I loved a letter of intent, so I wish he was here to accept, but unfortunately he's not. So then Della serves on the Academic Affairs Committee, and she's been very wonderful so far, and Alan has told me wonderful things about her. She's very involved on campus, and yeah, I'm excited to have her serve on this Scholastic Standards Committee.
Thank you, President Avila. Other motions or points of discussion? Senator Douglas.
I actually speak in favor of the nominee. I've been a close personal friend of the streams for 8 or 9 years at this point. We went to high school together last year. Our high school started to change the way they calculate GPA in the middle of our senior year as we were submitting to colleges. Sri was pivotal in kind of getting that fixed and refraining from the kind of changes that they were making. This speaks to her dedication to Scholastic Standards.
Thank you. Any other points of discussion? Some information? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on the nominees. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Excuse me. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Congratulations. Now we will move into a motion to confirm Crystal Clayson to the Student Welfare Committee. Once again, we yield to the President to discuss the nominee. Yes.
Is there any way to do all of these as one vote?
It is possible, yes, but it would be relatively difficult. If they were all being nominated for the same thing like they were for University Senate, it would make sense to confirm them all at once. I understand. I too, so yes, the answer is yes, we could. Would it look great? We could also motion to confirm them all by unanimous consent. Again, that probably would be good.
All the remaining nominees by unanimous.
Second.
All right, so there's a second. All in favor of confirming all the remaining nominees by unanimous consent, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying no. What? No, honestly, we don't even need a vote on this. He motioned by unanimous consent, and no one objected, so it's... No. Sit down. Well, congratulations to the rest of the nominees.
Don't they need to accept their nomination?
Yeah, they, we can do whatever we want. We can literally say that, well, we can literally say that we want to do every single one at the same time. Like, it's not recommended for obvious reasons. Yes.
Basically what I'm asking is a point of parliamentary procedure. I thought what we just did was that we motioned to confirm them all at once, but I wasn't sure if we confirmed them all. I just thought we were motioning to do that. So can you guys clarify?
That's a good point. What was your intent, Senator Reynolds?
To confirm them all.
Like say that they're through and like done, no,
Yeah.
okay, so, all right, so that they've all been confirmed. All right, I just wanted to make sure. Parliamentarian Contreras brought up a very good point. Thank you for that. Are there any, well, now, there are no items left on the agenda, so. Hang on, no, I'm actually gonna rule that out of order. We have like a couple items of discussion and announcements left, and then we will let you all on your way. I promise most senates aren't this one. Anyway, we will now move into discussion. Are there any points of discussion? No? Okay, then we're going to move into announcements. So I'm actually going to make a few announcements first. So first and foremost, we have game night tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the conference room. So if you're a new senator and you want to come by and play Uno with us and get beat by me, then please feel free to come. Otherwise, make sure you get your office hours in and your committee assignments to Parliamentarian Contreras so she can process that and get that done immediately. Third of all, remember that not only are Senate and caucus all mandatory, it's also mandatory that you dress business formal for Senate. If there are reasons that you cannot or that you feel you shouldn't, email me personally, we can talk about that, but without any exceptions, without extenuating circumstances, that is mandatory. Any other announcements? We'll go with the executive board first.
Sorry for cutting you off, Comptroller. Also, I also wanted to let everybody know that the President's Council on Race and Diversity is currently looking for student participants. This is a group that was made in the spring semester. It's hosted at President Herbst's house every 3 weeks, and we talk about different issues that are happening on campus. And right now we're making a diversity module for incoming freshmen. And most of the people on our committee graduated. So we're looking for letters of intent. I'll probably send out the listserv today. If you're interested in more specifics, please let me know. I can let you know what that entails and what's expected of you. I really encourage that you do so. It's a really great committee, great people on it, and it's a great way to get to know other student leaders on campus.
Thank you, Vice President. Now I'll give it to the Comptroller.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be here in person to pass the budget, but I'm pleased that it is passed. If you have any other information or any other questions that you have for me, please speak to me afterwards. I'll be here. Okay, thank you. You look back to the chair.
Thank you, I appreciate it. We'll go with Senator Mima because it raised the topic.
Okay, so new subcommittee on mental health and wellness, meeting on Mondays at 5 p.m. in the SOC conference room, if anybody's interested in attending the first meeting. And then also, Derek and I are looking for volunteers for Mental Health Awareness Week on Tuesday. If you can do a tabling event in the union, we're more than happy to have you either reach out to us anytime now or tomorrow at committee, because we want to sort of raise awareness for the committee and get people outside of USG to join. So if we have people at the tabling event, obviously that would be the best way to earn support. So please volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mima. Senator.
Before we finish announcements and adjourn, I just want to remind everyone, I sent an email to the USG listserv with a link to tickets. It's an Eventbrite, so you register and you have your ticket, you present it at the door. The form will be with the candidates for Attorney General. It'll be on October 16th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone there and having a great event. But remember to look at your emails, get tickets if you're interested, and if you have any questions about the event or comments, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Reynolds. Any other announcements? Oh, and one other thing, you can continue to come up, but announcements must strictly pertain to USG. I just want to make sure that they do it. All right. Continue. Yeah, like, it is, because like it has to have some relevance to the business at hand. If we're just like, if it's something like what you announced that has like something that student interest, like student representation could be on, that's different. But like, don't announce your club here or something like that. That's good. Like a question or an announcement? Probably not. That's right.
Everyone, before you leave, there is a whole batch of apple crisp that I brought. So, you might still be warm, we'll find out. Yeah, so before you leave, grab a whole batch.
First, thank you, Josh, for bringing us food. I really needed it. And then I also want to say congratulations to everyone. I'm going to try to keep this short as the last announcement. I did send out the office hours and committee forms early in the week. I will send out another email tonight or early tomorrow morning, just with the same forms. The deadline to fill those out is tomorrow at noon, and all the information is going to be in the email. If you have any questions, please reach out to me like after or just through email, whatever. And also, I will be sending out a separate email concerning how we're going to do Senate communication this year. I'll again, more details in the email, but if you will be using this new program called Slack for anything business formal relating Senate, and then informal will be using a group meet. But again, more details will come in the email, so look out for that. Thank you.
Any other announcements? We have a motion to adjourn from Parliamentarian Contreras. A second from O'Connor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Okay. All right, everyone. We ask you to take your seats. Not a chance yet, you should go to the back of the room. Your placard should be back there. If it's not, don't worry. It's just a mistake on my part. We'll fix it later. Generally speaking, this will be when we start the official meeting. But tonight we're honored to have Mr. Scott Jordan, the CFO of the university, come in to give us a presentation on the university's budget. So we will now listen to his presentation.
Hi, my name is Scott Jordan. I am the Executive Vice President for Administration and Chief Financial Officer for the university. I think I've seen some of you before. I've come to this at least once a year. I'd like to come once a semester to share with you information about the financial well-being of UConn and where we stand, especially during the spring when the state is considering its budget, which the university is very much dependent on, to make sure you know where things stand. And I think this is the earliest in my time. This is my 4th year working at UConn, and I think this is the earliest I've ever been. So I think that's actually a good idea to get to know you all at the beginning of the year instead of showing up at the end and trying to encourage you, please help us do something with the budget. This is a presentation that I've done a couple of different, some of you have seen these slides before, but it's worth an overview and an update as to where we stand. So just by way of general parameters for how the university does its budget, the UConn is part of the state of Connecticut. The state of Connecticut is on a fiscal year that starts July 1st of each year and ends June 30th. The state legislature or the governor do their budget work usually in the spring. So it'll start at the beginning of the legislative session, late January, early February, and continue usually through May is when they're doing their thing. And we do ours early in that process is where we do our budget analysis to feed into theirs. And then there's a lot of like back and forth. And you'll read stories in the newspaper, and we'll all worry about it because, as you'll see in these slides, the state provides about 25% of the university's budget. And it really does matter to what tuition you all pay, tuition fees, how well we can keep the campus, how many professors we can hire, how big your classes are. It really does matter how much money we have for all of that. So I'll start with a sort of a broad statement that UConn's a great university, and really you're all probably too young to know how fast it has climbed from sort of a middle of the pack regional state university, very good university, to at our peak last year we were 18th in U.S. News and World Report. We just dropped a little bit to 22nd this year, but still really in the top tier of public universities in the United States. And that is largely because the state of Connecticut back in the late 90s passed a bill that got called UConn 2000, and it has been I don't know what you call it. It's been redone and reapproved and refunded 3 times since. So we were on our 3rd round of funding from this UConn 2000 effort, and it's really unprecedented. The rise that this university has had since the state made a serious effort to invest in it, starting in the late 90s and through to today. So anything I say about recent turns of events with regard to state funding is against that context, that the state made this great effort. We got all the way to where we did. And over the last few years, as I'm sure some of you are aware, the state of Connecticut's had some trouble, and their support for the university has come down a little bit. How many of you are from Connecticut, follow Connecticut politics? And it's great. So I can talk to you about this stuff. You know, we've got a governor's race coming up. President Herbst and I have met with 2 of the candidates so far, Ned Lamont and Hans Kriegel. We're trying to get on the 3rd candidate, Bob Stefanowski's schedule, to give them honestly the same presentation. The slide deck we give to them is longer because it includes a lot about health too, but we want them all to have the same information and come to the same conclusion that UConn is worth investing in. So you might have, anybody here concerned about the recent drop from 18 to 22 in U.S. News? There is a regression that we use to approximate U.S. News' formula is kind of secret, but everybody, universities are full of smart people and statisticians, and we all know the data that we give to them to do their survey, and we can sort of back into what their formula is and what the weights are on their regression. And we've determined that the slip from 18 to 22 is the result of 2 things. First, and most important, the U.S. News takes into account spending per undergraduate student. So when our budget is cut, that number goes down. It's like direct. Less money to spend, less dollars per student, and whether you believe deep in your heart that UConn is spending its money wisely and that all that money goes to great things, it is a rough measure that U.S. News uses for the amount of resources available to your education. And there are a lot of great universities that spend an awful lot of money per student. And we spend, we're about sort of middle of the path in that. We try to be frugal. We are New England after all. But the decline, mostly because of state cuts, is one of the things that's driving it. The second thing that surprised us that's driving U.S. News, one of their measures of whether a school is a good school or not, and isn't that kind of a weird thing to ask just generally, is it a good school? It's a good school for what, right? There's all different kinds of schools for different things. But one of the things they measure is alumni support. And they measure alumni support by the percentage of alumni who give, like the count. So if we've got, I don't know what it is, 200,000 alumni, what percent of them actually give money to the university each year? And that number's been going down. We've gotten some bigger gifts. I don't know, are you aware of the Worth, the Next Gen Residence Law? We changed the name to the Worth Residence Law because Peter Worth gave us, I think it was $22 million. And we used some of that money to start the Worth Institute for Entrepreneurship, some of it to support things that are going on in that building. But that's, so we're getting bigger gifts and we're getting more money, but fewer gifts. And so this is my plea to you and your families and all your friends, even if it's only $5 or $20 or whatever you give, that counts towards something. Just saying, just being on the list and having given something counts. So as state support has declined, we have slipped a little bit. And then the national standing is important, rankings are important, but then the things that are important in your lives, right, that we care about and we think about, well, how much money have we got to spend in our budget towards undergraduate education? Class size, very important. US News counts class size. They have these various measures of percentage of classes under 20 students, percentage of classes over 100. Class size we want to be not just for rankings, but because you have a better experience in a smaller class. Number of tenured professors, you know, for the most part, would you rather have a research track tenured professor teaching a class than, you know, nothing against TAs, and they're wonderful, but you really do want to see your professors sometimes, so we want to hire good professors. And number of class sections, really important. Like the worst thing that can happen, not the worst thing in the whole world that can happen, a terrible thing that can happen is if you can't get your classes to graduate. One of the things UConn does better than almost any university is graduate students on time. Our average time to graduation is 4.2 years here. That's which probably does some damage to that myth about stepping on the oak leaf. Isn't that the thing, if you step on the leaf, you don't graduate on time? But 4.2 years, that's because we do a lot of work to make sure there are sections available. If you need a class to graduate, we want you to get that class section. And one of the things we worry a lot about is that if we can't hire enough faculty to teach all those sections, that will affect your time to graduation. So the next slide is probably too small to read from where you're sitting, but this is the thing our Board of Trustees voted on in May, no, June of last year, setting the budget for the University of Connecticut for fiscal year 2019. Remember that UConn Health is part of UConn, and our Board of Trustees approves their budget as well. UConn Stores and Regional Campuses, what you think of as UConn, is about a $1.4 billion enterprise. UConn Health is about a $1 billion enterprise. In total, it's about $2.4 billion. We, like many, next slide. We started the fiscal year last year with a gap, you know, and I don't know, if you've ever done a budget, even if it's your own personal budget, and I've done lots and lots of them. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. In the state of Massachusetts, I was CFO for city for a while and for university. You start by adding up how much you need to spend, and you ask all the departments, how much do you need next year to pay your employees and do all the things that you need to do, and then you add up how much money have we got. And I don't know, whether it's my family or the state budget or the university's budget, there's always a gap. You always want more than you can afford. And the job of the university's budget office and the deans and the provost and me is to close that gap. Now, we are on a schedule at the university. We set a tuition schedule every year, or every 4 years, that raises tuition a little bit each year over 4 years. That's unusual in higher ed. I know we hate to raise tuition. We would prefer not to raise tuition. We always have this conversation during legislative session with the legislature to say, increasing, tuition for this year is gonna go up by $16 million in total. If you can afford 16 more, we could do less tuition increases. But it's also unusual in higher ed that universities do this much financial planning. We publish a 4-year schedule. So when you come to UConn, you can look on the website and know what it's going to be next year and the year after. Often it's a surprise. At a lot of other universities, there is tuition, and everybody says, oh no, I wasn't planning for that. So we started this year with a $39.5 million budget gap, revenues versus expenses. And tuition went up some, and was $16.7 million that gap was closed for tuition. And this stuff happens for us. We tend to be about, when we have budget trouble, we tend to be between a third and a half tuition versus cuts versus state support. We also got a little bit more money from the state because the state does its collective bargaining with its unions all at once. They have this group called CBAC, which is State Employees Something Bargaining Coalition. I don't know, it's CBAC. All the state, and UConn as a state-run facility or state-run agency, about 95% of the employees at UConn are in unions of one sort or another. There's the AAUP, the American Association of University Professors for Faculty, UCP, which is University of Connecticut Professional Employees Association for most of the staff. Our police belong to the statewide police union. Our facilities guys, for the people who belong to the statewide facilities people's union. They're all unionized. And the governor and his people negotiate with them all at once. And after several years of zero pay increases, next year there will be a pay increase for them. And that's going to, we'll see later on in the slides, that that's going to affect the budget. This year there was a small increase, and the state gave us $8.4 million to help cover that. And we cut $14.4 million out of the budget across the board in university departments. How many of you have had experience in your academic departments where folks are feeling pain? I hope not. I hope as we cut a little bit here and a little bit there, you don't ever have to feel it. Nobody says, hey, we would have done this for you, but that person got laid off. That's good that nobody's raising their hand, because I do believe that with incremental, purposeful work here, we can continue to bring out and find savings. And we do it at a decentralized level, but what you probably know about UConn yourselves and your own experiences is that UConn is sort of this big umbrella for a whole bunch of small organizations, whether it's an academic department, a student support service, a support department like facilities, and I can't, and Susan Perks can't, and our board of trustees can't, all by ourselves, think of every way to save money. But if we take everybody down 1% or 2 or 3 a year, all of those 5,000 employees, they can find ways to get it done. So I'm going to go 2 slides up. There we go. This is probably too small to read too. We'll make sure that you have a chance to get these slides. What you're going to see year over year is that the state block grant, can you read that? State block grant for fiscal 2019 actually went down a little bit. And if you're any economists in the room, these are nominal numbers, not real. These are not adjusted for inflation. So last year, fiscal 18, the state gave us $191 million. This year, it's $190.6. It's roughly the same, but in inflation-adjusted dollars, it's not. We were glad to not get cut, honestly. The second line, fringe benefits and adjustments. The state pays fringe benefits for some of our employees, for many of our employees. That's health insurance and pensions. Big number. You'll see, and maybe you care, maybe you don't, but you'll see as a theme in these slides that the cost that's rising fastest at the university is fringe benefits. And that is directly a result of the state of Connecticut not funding the state employees retirement system. And have you heard of this unfunded pension liability thing? It's a big deal. And a piece of this fringe benefit number is going into the state retirement system to try to shore it up. The state charges us for You'll see tuition went up, and there is a different, no, when I say 16 million on one slide and then 18 million on this slide, it's mostly the difference between, it's about enrollment. So tuition goes up because of the rate, but it also goes up when enrollment goes up. So the numbers are a little bit different year over year. And we could walk through this whole thing, but the key elements here are that state support is flat or declining. Where you see auxiliary enterprise revenue, that declined some last year or this year, mainly because of athletics conference revenue. Anyone familiar with the Big East American Athletic Conference story? Several years ago, in UConn's great athletic history, we were part of the Big East Conference. It was a big, important conference. There was lots of revenue flowing through it. For various reasons, totally beyond our control, NCAA realigned conferences into these Power 5 conferences that were focused mainly on football, with basketball and other sports sort of trailing along the Power 5 or Big 10, Big 12, whatever I can name, ACC, SEC, and Pac-12. UConn did not get into any of those. We're in the American Athletic Conference, which only started 3 years ago. So it is a new conference. And with its being a new conference, we don't get a lot of TV and other revenue that you see. You know, you can see UConn on TV, but we're not getting paid like Michigan's getting paid, or UCLA, or you can name all the schools, Auburn and Alabama. So we're actually at a moment where that revenue is declining, even as we're maintaining a very high quality Division I program across all of our sports. So that we are expecting to change. The American is actually a very good conference. If you follow football, you'll know that American schools are now several in the top 25. UCF should have made a bowl game last year. They were undefeated, the only undefeated school in NCAA Division I, but because they weren't in one of the Power 5, they didn't get into the championship. Going down to expenses, in fact, if we turn the page here, it's better to read, to be honest. This is an important slide, and if I can flip between this slide and slide 11. So go back to the pie. This is where all the money comes from at UConn. I don't know, is that very easy to read? So 25% of our money comes from the state of Connecticut. 31% of our money is from your tuition dollars. Almost 10% is from fees, mainly the GUF and some of the other fees. 15.7 is auxiliary enterprise revenue. Auxiliary enterprises and sort of higher ed talk, housing, dining, parking, athletics. Those are the main ones. And we call them auxiliaries because they really are their own little businesses. 16% almost of university revenue is from those activities. And because most of it's housing and dining, for the sake of this chart, we're counting that as, we know athletic revenue isn't 100% student revenue, there's parking. But when we show this to state policymakers, we want to make a distinction that says, everybody thinks of UConn as a state school and the state pays for it and taxpayers pay for it. But we're in a place now where more than half the revenue of the university is coming from you all, one way or another, whether it's tuition fees or housing and dining. And the state's only 25%, and the rest, that 18%, is everything else. When you think about, universities like UConn do research, and we get federal research grants to do that. We get money from our foundation. Not a lot, only about, I want to say 11%. No, what's 1%? About 1% of our budget, $11 million a year, comes from our foundation. We're new to this. Yale started 300 years ago raising money. We were always a great public university supported by taxpayers. When you hear that our foundation raised $80 million last year, and we have $400 million in the bank, remember, the way endowments work is it sits in the bank and generates interest. And only about 4 or 5% of that money comes over to the university to spend. That's why when you hear about these great Ivy League universities, especially with 20 or 30 billion in the bank, that's getting us real income that's driving, especially financial aid. We're just getting started, and very important for us to grow that over time. And then when we think about, actually, this is the story of state support. We are this year at $190 million. 10 years ago, fiscal year 2010, we were at 233. We were doing better. And this is, again, nominal dollars, not inflation. This is how much the state wrote the check, 233. And in between, and I'm not complaining about the state much, great aspirations. When the state has money, they give it to us. So you can see we've got to go up and down with them. And fiscal 16, 240. Has anybody heard of the Next Gen Connecticut program? That was, the state gave us a bunch of money to build buildings. We still have that, and we're building. And don't get in our way, because we're going to keep building. But there was also operating budget support this month to increase enrollment. And the plan was to increase enrollment by 5,000 students. We got to about 2,500, and they stopped giving us the money. And we stopped growing. So now we're bigger than we've ever been, but we're not growing like we were. And that's what that represents. And honestly, that's, anybody hear about what we're doing with the Nathan Hill Hotel? That's why. We bought it because we thought we were going to need it for student housing. Didn't happen. And now we're going to take it back into a hotel. And hopefully a nice one. Not hopefully, it's going to be a nice hotel. You'll be proud to put your parents there. And this is a slide that we show every time we go out in public. Susan and I carry this around with us. As the state has declined in support, tuition has gone up, and the swing is remarkable. And this is just, there was in fiscal 16, just a couple of years ago. In fact, if there are any juniors and seniors here, during your time here, the state provided $31 million more to the university than students did, just in tuition. We are now at a place projecting out where it's swung by $100 million. Now it'll be $71 million more in tuition and state support. So I think I've made the case for more state support. Okay. Now I'll quickly run through expense, but I don't want to bore you too much, and then I'll just take any questions. On the expense side, almost all, not almost all, 57% of the university's budget goes to pay people. Makes some sense, right? Teaching, research, these are people things that people do. Supporting the university. You should know, and if you're really curious, I can show you around. The university is like its own town, too. UConn stores anyway. We make our own electricity. These are like UConn employees, like over there, making the lights come on. But, we're not plugged into EverSource, except when that shuts down. But make our own electricity. We have our own wells, all our own water, our own water treatment plant, our own wastewater treatment plant. It's like a little city off Discovery Drive, where the buses are parked. Behind there, it's like the city department of public works with all of this stuff. And that takes people too. And then fringe benefits. This 20% of the university's budget pays these fringe benefits, health insurance and pensions for employees. And a piece of that, we can't quite identify how big a piece, but I think it's like 20–30% of that is going just to shore up the underfunded part of the state pension system, because it's part of the state. And that's something we have pleaded with legislators, we pleaded with the current governor, and with the various candidates. Please do something about that. We don't know exactly what they should do, but totally not fair that the state didn't fund the pension system 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And now they've got this big bill that's due, and they're putting it on too long. So I'm going to skip the next few slides and go to slide 16. And I'll give you this deck. You can save it to your computer. You can email it. Yeah, well, the next few slides are all the things we're doing to save money. And I want to make sure you know that we've got people working every day to do that. And this energy management slide is a good example. Because we make all our electricity, we're actually pretty active in energy markets. We buy various hedges, we buy buy natural gas, we buy oil, electricity. We're also trying to be green, so we're, I got this is, sorry, I get distracted. So, and over time, through being fairly aggressive in the energy market and buying our energy in a sophisticated way, we've actually been able to save $8 million, which is real money in the energy markets. So the next slide is the last slide we showed to our trustees, and we're showing it to everybody just to say, hey, this is where we're at, and I'm glad we're here early. Usually I come to you and say, here's what the budget was last week, but now I'm here now to say, hey, before we even get started building our budget for fiscal 20, that'll start in January through May of next year. Very early, first slide, I think I showed that we were starting the year last year with $30 million deficit. I think that's what it was. Yeah, $39.5 million. Fiscal 20 looks like as we start pushing out or projecting out where we think we are, we're 15 million in the red. It's not so bad compared to last year, but we've got work to do. And then fiscal 21, 33 million. That's mostly driven by collective bargaining and fringe. Remember, I told you that state employees and university employees have gotten no pay raises for several years since the state was in a bad place. Last year, the governor negotiated with all the unions some pay increases to make up for that. And so we're looking at pay increases for state employees in those 2 years. Things we can do, and these are open questions. We have no decisions have been made yet. Right now, we're in the year 3 of a 4-year tuition plan. So fiscal year 2021 tuition is not yet set yet. So that's the first bullet, which is to say, hey, we may want to do the tuition plan a year early so that we can project out and understand where we're at on that, which would be, and maybe by doing a tuition plan has some influence on the legislature to say, hey, we've got this problem. Our current plan is to raise tuition. When you give it to the bottom, maybe they'll do something about it. Second is increase enrollment. There are ways to increase enrollment to add more students. Because remember, tuition revenue to the university is tuition rate times number of students. Add some students. This is an issue of scale. We don't know if there's a lot of room. I know in the housing area, where right now we're at 300 vacancies in housing. So it feels like there's at least some place for people to sleep. I don't know if there's enough room in the classrooms or doing research on that now. How do you feel about this? Are there empty seats in your classes? No? What's your major? Political science, history. No? Feel it full? Oh yeah. I've heard that the biggest bottleneck at this university is I don't know, it's called Bio 1000. The biology labs. The biology labs are full, and I think they may even run on Saturday. How'd you feel about going on Saturday? Not good. Or nights, or weekends, or summers. What else are we thinking about? This school does not have a freshman residency requirement. Most do. In fact, almost all of them do. We've never felt like we needed to because most students do come here. But what we're seeing as more houses and neighborhoods in Mansfield, for whatever reason, people are turning into rental houses, and we're starting to see people sort of drift away. And we would never say to juniors and seniors, you have to live in the dorm. That's just not. Students and seniors are pulled up. But it really doesn't matter to freshmen and your first year on campus, when you're a freshman or transfer, student success really doesn't matter if you be here. That's what we found. And it also matters. If I've got 300 vacancies in housing, that's 300 rents, just to budget. If we can either increase enrollment or students exposed. And then the last two things we've already done. We have a hiring freeze going on right now on campus. Anytime anybody takes a job at UConn, this is advice for me. Susan Herbst or me or the provost, Craig Kennedy, one of us three has to sign off on that. Every job. So that's part of my job is to review And then the last is sort of the normal stuff you do to save money, is restructure departments, merge departments, all those sorts of things. So that's the update on the university's budget. It's actually not horrible news compared to this last year. But the anxiety that I feel and maybe you all feel is all about what the state of Connecticut is going to help us on reducing these frequent costs and increasing support. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah.
No, it's fine, we're not having meetings.
First question, right?
Yeah.
What would you guys choose to do, like, tuition rates for everyone rather than like grandfathering?
By grandfathering in, you mean
So,
that
like,
when your tuition stays as a freshman,
Yeah.
your tuition stays the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
for
yeah.
years. That's just not something most schools do. And we didn't decide not to do it. It's just not sort of normal in higher ed. I think some schools have tried it, and they do get hung up. My understanding is the technicalities of it are actually pretty hard. Whether you go abroad, you're in, you're out, you transfer, like identifying which student pays what tuition is very challenging. But that's fine. Yes.
So with tuition raises, will there be more allocation of financial aid?
Yes, very important point. Thank you. Whenever we talk about tuition in UConn, important to note a couple of things. One is that there is a state law that says that 15% of the tuition that we collect, or that our financial aid budget has to be 15% of our tuition, which means that we're always setting aside 15% for financial aid. Right now, UConn is, I'll probably get this wrong by a percent or two, but I think we're in the 17-18% range. And this is defined as institutional financial aid outside of state or federal financial aid. And every time we raise tuition, we take 15 to 20% of that increase and apply it to financial aid. What does that mean? It means that the price for full payers is going up, even as those who get aid, we try to maintain aid for those that need it. And as a public university, deep in our mission is being accessible and affordable to everybody. And we are that way in two ways. One is our tuition is actually low. Even as we talk about and I know it doesn't feel low, I say that full knowledge. I have 3 kids. 2 of them have graduated university, one here, one at UMass Amherst, both of whom we had paid for. At least while I was working here, I got a discount. But the UMass Amherst one, 20-something thousand a year, a lot of money. He had a lot of loans. So I told him, we're still paying these things. A lot of money, but still, UConn in-state tuition right now, I think this year is $12,000 a year. And when you add it all in, mandatory fees, it's 15, and if you live on campus, it's 20-something. Maybe 30. That's a lot of money, totally understand that. Privates, out of state, we're talking multiples now, double or even triple in some cases. Privates are in the 60s and 70s now. I know it's crazy, but it's true. So we are still within that context pretty affordable, and we are very much committed financially.
So, I know you were talking about how we do obviously voting for the state to help us whenever we can. If we do get a fiscally conservative governor and say a fiscally conservative legislative Senate, do we have a rainy day fund in place, or what would I say?
That's a good question. Being part of the state, UConn doesn't really have its own money. We have some of our own money, mainly derived from housing and dining. So the best to think of UConn is sort of, I think in terms of spreadsheets, because I know it's too long, but sort of columns on a spreadsheet. You think of, what you think of is sort of college, like classrooms and research and all That's one column, that's tuition and state money. And then the other columns are housing, dining, parking, athletics, all of these other things we do. Student support, like so the GUF funds everything that's outside of the classroom, like really student government, but also the rec center and the student health services, student mental health services, all of that stuff is student support. So when we talk about having a rainy day fund, we do have funds set aside for those other things, but we really don't for tuition and state money. That all sits with the state. So we do have some, and we would use, if we had to use some of that, but it's nothing like what we want to have or what a private university would have. Yeah.
Increase enrollment, to increase our revenue. How come we're converting anything else back to in instead of
Well, it's something we're thinking about, and only on the margins, to be honest. Right now, we are, because of things like bio, and right now, UConn is built, the number of classrooms and number of professors that we have, is built for about the enrollment that we have. We do have, we think room for maybe several hundred more, maybe as transfers, probably not as freshmen. And so it would be marginal.
First of all, sir, thank you for coming here tonight. I enjoy seeing you here again. I had the pleasure of speaking with you, I remember, a year ago, about fun stuff like audits.
I remember that.
And all that.
Yep.
That was a great meeting. Besides that point, a few weeks ago, the town of Mansfield signed an agreement with the university regarding opportunity zone in the northwest part of Mansfield, one of which includes the discovery area that would encourage people to invest into economic development there. Do you see that as a playing a critical role in some of our future developments, specifically the things like STEM and more tech parks around the state?
That's, did everybody hear that question? This is a great optimistic question. Thank you. So Discovery Drive it looks like a beautiful road through farmland, right? But it's called Discovery Drive because what it really is the beginning of a tech park. Tech parks are sort of public-private partnerships where private industry and the university have space to join together and do work. And we can think of sort of the great companies in Connecticut, like say Pratt & Whitney. They've not committed to anything. This is just an example, but say they wanted to build a research center for aircraft engineering or whatever they do, and they want to do it in collaboration with UConn faculty and UConn support. Discovery Drive has, despite it being, you call it now, is sort of pre-zoned and ready to go for several building sites all along Discovery Drive. And over time, it's our hope, and the Innovation Partnership building, which is there, it's the first building that was built by the state, is sort of the down payment on that effort. So over time, we hope that will make a big difference. And if those partnerships are fruitful, and you think about the great research universities in America, you think about like the area around Route 128 in Boston and Cambridge, the Research Triangle in North Carolina, or Silicon Valley in California. These all sort of started that way. Again, Connecticut's kind of late to all of this, but this is our start. So yeah, over time, these things can be very important to the university. Right now, research revenue is a very small part of our budget. These great research universities, it's a big part of our budget. It's billions and billions of dollars. And this is a start. That grant that you heard about is a grant to study how to make it happen, both in the Discovery Drive area and then out into other parts of Mansfield. So, yeah, and I'm optimistic about it. I think one of the untold stories about Connecticut, and I moved here from Massachusetts, which culturally seems very different. There's a kind of, because of the budget issues and some of the other long-term issues in Connecticut, there's a little bit of pessimism right now. But one of the biggest issues that we hear from employers is that they've got lots of jobs and they're not people to fill them. Like that's actually a good problem to have for you all. I hope you're going to graduate and want to stay. And Connecticut has this great history, like Rentschler Field, which I don't know if has anyone been to the football field? Whether you love it or hate the building, and or love or hate that it's 30 miles from here, the state built that with cash. Like usually states build stuff with bonds. They have so much in surplus, they built a stadium for UConn. So there is history in Connecticut of having plenty of money, and history hopefully will even help for UConn. Any other questions? Yeah, John.
Elaborate on the means for which you can get
That's another good question. We don't generate revenue directly from the state, but we do, and I think I've got one bullet point on one slide about this. We did an economic development study a few years ago. We didn't do it. We hired an outside independent economist to do this. And, UConn's kind of a big thing in a small state, right? Like with this, and we're very proud of our role in the state. And what we found was that while UConn isn't, we don't give money back to the state, but that we generate $585 million of activity in the state each year, which is a good thing for the state. And that is measured broadly. That includes the economic impact of UConn alums who stay here, work, and start businesses. That kind of thing. We've found that 1 out of every 90 jobs in Connecticut is somehow tied to UConn, either with a UConn starting company or a company that we've got a partnership with, or with the UConn graduates in that job. It's kind of an outsized impact if you think about. It's because we're a big university in a small state, but we're really proud of the role we play in that regard. And I don't have the numbers here, but most UConn graduates stay here. Another big element, and thank you all for coming to UConn and staying in Connecticut at least for the next several years. But one of the issues that northeastern states, New England and New York, except for New York City, one of the issues that we face is brain drain. It is totally part of the culture these days. And I just say this, my own son graduated UConn, went to San Diego, mainly for the weather. When he graduated, there is actually out-migration from New England right now to the rest of the country. This isn't like news, the South and the West are very attractive, sunny places with booming economies. One of the things UConn does is keep our best, brightest, and most ambitious Connecticut students here and help them find jobs here and stay here and be part of Connecticut. And the other thing we do is something like 80% of Connecticut and UConn graduates stay here. And the other thing we do is we import people. If you're from out of state or from another country and you come to UConn, 20-some-odd% of those folks stay here too. Because we've got connections. We want to get a job, maybe start a business, and that's good for Connecticut as well. Yeah.
So earlier, you were talking about all this also affects mental health.
Yep.
So also wondering about how one of these potential plans on having first-year students specifically live on campus.
Yep.
And one to have satellite campuses for students that do commute for
Yep.
Hartford that doesn't have on-campus housing.
Oh, sure.
And students, first-year students that can't afford to attend university.
Yep.
With the meal plan or with the meal plan. And it's like a meal plan would still be required if
Right. So when I said that, I meant stores.
okay.
So yeah, of course we wouldn't make. There's no place in every point for students. We couldn't force anybody to do that. And these sort of policies are always very generous. So we, the way most universities do it is we say, if you're a freshman or a transfer and we have room, and your family doesn't live within 20, 30, 40 miles, so totally cool to live at home and come to UConn. That's the fear. And of course, if money was an issue, also financially, there's home and all this. But what we're trying to do is understand how many freshmen are coming to stores and get to the park. That's not good for them first year for academics. That's not good for the university. But yeah, regionals. So yeah, how about this? We now let regional students stay in stores, and which is great for them, right? Because you can one UConn includes Farmington, our health campus, and now we do run a shuttle bus every day, multiple times a day. So say you get an internship, they do some really great stuff there. Genetic stuff like science, machines, doctors and nurses, and all that stuff. I studied economics. That's not my thing, but when you go to a great research university, that's the thing, maybe you want to do an internship there. We've got a bus for you to take you there. We're trying to make it easier. The same is true with the regional campuses. Maybe, you know, our School of Public Policy is in Hartford, our School of Social Work is in Hartford, if that's your thing. Then, you don't want the regional campuses to just be sort of the junior version of UConn, where you want them to develop their own thing, their own personality. Stanford now, you can walk from the Stanford campus to the train and get to New York City for your internship. That's the other thing that we're trying to build with the apartments that we have there now, is that they're going to be some students who want that experience and want to have that connections and work. So Stanford's the place for that. All right. But when you look at these slides, you will see a section on UConn Health if you want to know about their budget, and then a section in the back about our capital program. It's a whole other, I can come back and talk about all the buildings we're building. But if you have any questions, just email me. I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
All right. Is this working? Hello? All right, there. So first things first, before we get started with our official meeting, I'd like to swear all of you new members in. So if you were recently elected to a constituency, please stand up. Put your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly promise to uphold the Constitution, bylaws, and rules of the undergraduate student government. At the University of Connecticut in Stores. Is that better? I promise that I shall consistently and faithfully earn the vote of the constituents who I have been elected to serve and represent. Finally, I shall maintain a vigilant eye on the welfare of the entire student government, that we may all diligently work together to successfully advocate for, represent, and serve the entire student body. Congratulations. I just realized I've never done that before, and there's a whole cadence to that I never realized. I have respect for people who do that. But first thing we're going to do now is call the roll. So I'm going to pull it up. The way this will work is I'll just say your name, raise your hand, and say you. Also, I apologize if I butcher your name. It's nothing personal, I'm just bad at that sort of thing. I'll get used to it as the semester goes. Senator Olivala. Senator Monventura. Here. Senator Koplich. Senator Chapapal. Senator Chizajalu. Senator Chiababu. Senator Contreras.
Douglas. Senator Earl. Senator Fernando. Senator Fadawala. Senator Glassman. Senator Glau. Senator Busan. Senator Joffrey. Senator Javari. Senator Karowski. I apologize. Senator Knight. Senator Lau.
Here.
Senator Macaro.
Here.
Senator McCaney.
Here.
I apologize.
Yeah,
Senator McCormick. Senator McManus. Senator Rima. Senator Moore. Senator Knight. Senator Nenadal. Senator O'Connor. Here. Senator Odell. Senator Pan. Senator Pratt. Senator Ryuka. Right. Sorry. Senator Reynolds. Here. Senator Tucker. Senator Tiberio. Here. Senator Wursler. Senator Wojcik. Here. Senator Zansowitz. Here. Senator Zak. We'll go over to executives now. Chairperson Sun. Chairperson Pan. Chairperson Nieves. Chairperson Reynolds. Chief of Staff to the President. Chief of Staff to the President. Public Relations Director Powell. Executive Advocacy Consultant. Chief Justice Italy. Excused. I'm here. Doctor excused. Vice President here, and then President. They're not. So we do have four overwhelmingly, which is very nice. So the first thing we're going to do is motion to accept the agenda that has been proposed. Usually Senate has to approve its own agenda. We're trying to work towards it so that the executive committee will be the one that does it instead, so we won't have to always do this, but for this particular meeting, since they haven't, we have to motion to approve our own agenda. So we're gonna need a motion to Zansowitz, second to Mendenhall. For those of you who are new, I will be going slow throughout the night. I'll be explaining what we're doing and that sort of thing. If you wish to motion, which just means you want what we're talking about to be discussed, you just raise your placard straight up in the air. If you want to be added to the speaking list, hold it sideways so I can put your name down. But so we have a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Oh wait, that's right. We already did it. It was so now we will move into discussion. If anyone has any discussion on the minutes we are approving, which are the ones from our first Senate meeting, please bring it up now. Senator Moore?
I would motion to amend.
What would you care to amend?
In members present, I'd like to remove the second C Moore and the second O Howitt from the.
So let's just move it. So, all right, there's a motion to amend. Does this motion have a second? Second goes to Senator Nenadal. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay. Now we're going to be moving into a vote Not on the minutes, just on the amendment, striking the two names that have been removed, just so all the new senators understand. We'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, motion carries. Now, we move back into consideration of all of the minutes. Are there any other points of discussion, any other amendments, anything anyone sees needing correcting or like to change? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on the minutes. For a procedural point, if you were not at the meeting, you cannot vote on the minutes, so all you new senators obviously can, and in general, if you missed that meeting for whatever reason, you cannot vote. You just missed it.
I have a question, since I was not at the meeting, but wasn't a senator, I think we'll vote, or just?
No, because you were not an active member. Good question, Alex. So with that, we will now move into a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Now, we will move into the consideration of the minutes from last session, which unfortunately we did not have quorum at, and so we could not vote on anything. We have to approve the minutes from that meeting as well. Do we have a motion for this? Motion goes to Senslitz, second goes to me. Is there any discussion on these minutes from September 19th? Look like it. Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. Same rules apply. If you weren't there, must abstain. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Sure. Any abstentions, if you weren't there, raise your flag. So basically, okay. Yes.
How are we voting on
The minutes still exist. Like, we still took minutes for that meeting. We still, per FOIA regulations, have to put those minutes up on the website. Even if we didn't vote on anything, there were still reports given, there were still things talked about for the sake of transparency and state law we have. So, we did a vote, right? And the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. So now, we will move into old business. First item on the agenda being, oh, that's right. First, we will be doing reports from every member of the executive board. So the first person to give reports is the student development chair. Seeing as she has an excused absence tonight, we will instead move into the report of the student services chair.
Congratulations to all the new senators. Welcome to USG. So Student Services hosted a successful mental health first aid certification training on September 22nd. We'll have another training session on November 10th. It's possible. Next, Student Services is spearheading the effort for Mental Illness Awareness Week, which will be next week. Omar has posted a Facebook event, and we're doing promo efforts for that, so look out for that. There will be 2 guest speaker events and various tables and activities in the union throughout the week.
Sorry. Finally, one of the days will feature a table to recruit for our new mental health and wellness subcommittee. Speaking of the subcommittees, we will be renewing the sustainability subcommittee, which focuses on environmental issues. We have also created a new mental health and wellness subcommittee to spearhead advocacy efforts regarding mental, physical, and sexual health of the student body. These subcommittees have been added into the standing rules of the Student Services Committee, which will be under review by the Senate today. Finally, planning efforts are underway for a tampon time event in collaboration with all the cultural centers in early November. I sent out an email. Actually, we already had a meeting with the Women's Center 2 days ago to discuss a town hall style type event in which students can come and learn about what we've done in the past about the initiative and what we hope to do in the future. So that's pretty much it. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Oh, Jesus. Thank you, Chairperson Pan. We're actually going to take a moment, go a little out of order, and move to the report of the Public Relations Director because he has to leave rapidly and I want to make sure he gets a chance to speak to all of you. So, without further ado, Public Relations Director Tom.
Usually I'll go in order, but I have 3,000 things today. I apologize. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Omar Tawi, PR Director. So, we're just a couple updates. Indigenous Peoples Week is being facilitated by UConn next week, and I wanted.
No, that has to. Yeah, we can.
We'll just put it. So we're going to be at our exec meeting. We're going to be discussing potentially putting out a statement on behalf of USG in support of the events that the university is already having. This will be for discussion, and you'll be notified of it before it's posted everywhere. So our website is being halted because of financial reasons again. So when we're finally up and going with the new website, you'll all know about it. So I'm going to stop mentioning it at every exec or every Senate because it's tedious and kind of boring. So you all got an email today from the ATM services. I want you all to fill it out. Even if you don't use the ATMs, fill it out. All student feedback is good feedback. This is the first time the university is going out of their way, or one of the first times going out of their way to solicit student feedback before they make a change. So, as the people representing the constituency, I would like to see us all kind of give feedback so we can facilitate positive change before we have to correct. Other than that, there are, Derek already mentioned, or Student Services Chair already mentioned that the Mental Health Awareness Week is next week, so there's a Facebook page shared on the UConn USG page. Please go check it out and share it with all your friends. Greatly appreciated. And External Affairs Chair will probably discuss this when he comes up, but we're also in the process of promoting both Mental Health Awareness Week and also the Attorney General debate. So Senator Reynolds will talk more about that when he comes up, but if you had any questions about that, contact him, or if you want to help with promoting that, come to me. Other than that, I don't have any other updates. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, now we'll move into the report of the Academic Affairs Chair.
Good evening, everyone. Hope your week has been good so far. Congrats to all the new members that were sworn in today. So I just wanted to update you guys about what AC Affairs has been doing. So last night, Dr. Katrina Higgins, who's the Director of Advising, came to my meeting. We had a really amazing discussion about a new initiative that is going on with advising and that Academic Affairs has agreed to kind of join forces with, which is Gen Ed reform. So they're really looking to kind of vamp it up, not only marketing and selling it to students, but they're in the process of reformatting the whole thing overall. So we're in the process of thinking of different names for it for Gen Ed, because Gen Ed has a really negative connotation to it, just like in the country itself. So they are really looking for a lot of student input. So if you guys have any ideas about that, or if you have any experiences that you'd like to share, I'd really appreciate if you would shoot me an email, come out to our meetings. We meet every Tuesday at 5 in the SOC. But we had really awesome discussion in the SOC, right? Is that not, did someone call that? No? Okay, the SOC, sorry. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so we met last night. It was really great. We just talked about mostly sharing our experiences in Gen Eds and what we think would be good going forward. And today I went to a meeting with Dr. Higgins and a couple other faculty members, so I've joined the basically Gen Ed's communications committee. So we're still kind of on the very rise. We're also still waiting for them to choose a module. So there's like 3 different like setups per se, like 3 different foundational things that they're looking for. So you know how right now it's mostly like lists, like at orientation you just get that list of the different content area courses that you need to take. So they're really working on reformatting it. So there's a couple different formats that they're debating between right now. But we're really leaning toward one specific one. And then once we go from there, that's when we'll really be working on finding a new name for it, finding ways to really implement it, hopefully at orientation. That's one that was brought up at my meeting last night and was brought up again today, so really kind of vamping that up as well. There's also a new sustainability and environment content area, which is really exciting. That's been in the talks for a couple years now, and it's finally going to be approved. Probably not while we're still here, but in a few years, which is still great. So yeah, so that'll be part of the framework. There's going to be like a culture and diversity one, a sustainability one, and a couple others, like an innovation one, and a couple other really cool ones, and I really like where they're going with it. And then last thing I just wanted, or last couple of things is, right now I'm in the process of helping Dr. Higgins, and Karen, her last name is blanking for me right now, but she's basically like a top dog with all the gen ed stuff. So right now we're in the process of planning an essay competition. So essentially it will be an opportunity for students to just talk quickly about a gen ed that either really meant something to them, maybe made them change their major, change their career focus, and about a professor that maybe changed that in you too. So really exciting, again, still in the works, but just to throw it out there so you guys can maybe think about entering. The grand prize is a $200 gift card to Barnes & Noble, so textbooks, yes. And then there will be a few other prizes as well. So really great. We're also hoping to do some kind of video series with that as well. And then last thing, I'm meeting with Dr. McGuire, who's the head of undergraduate research next week. So that's to really just force out our research initiative that we have going on. So that was a lot. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Do you have any questions? Okay, thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you. We will now move into the report of the External Affairs Chairperson. You guys can also use that mic, just for future reference.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. It's so great to see all the new faces in the room and all the old faces too. I'm looking forward to all that we're going to get done this year, and we're already off to a great start, especially in external affairs. So first off, we had the privilege to film the election video with UCTV's help last week. That'll be in promotion of the November midterm election coming up in just a few weeks. I was talking with the gentleman who was helping me from UCTV develop that, and he will be giving us the video hopefully by the beginning of next week so we can distribute it to Omar and get that out so students can see it. And I'm looking forward to seeing the finished product. Also, I went through interviews and appointments, nominations of vice chairs for the committee. I looked at everyone's qualifications. We had a few good applicants that applied, and I'm looking forward to even the ones that didn't get the positions, including them and giving them leadership roles in the committee. I renominated and confirmed Andrew Rogalski to Town Affairs and Matthew Zansowitz to State Affairs. They're both incredible assets, incredible qualifications for both of the positions, and I'm looking forward to seeing all that they'll do this year and working with me and working with all of our committee members. Third is a very, very important and huge thing going on with our committee. As Omar mentioned, we're having the Attorney General Forum coming up on October 16th at 7 p.m. That'll last an hour. We'll have the doors open at 6:30 for people to come in. We have two participants at this point, William Tong, the Democrat, Peter Gosselin, the Green Party candidate, and we're reaching out to Sue Hatfield, the Republican candidate for Attorney General, to see her interest. Hopefully we can get an update on that soon, but that will be held at the Dodd Center Conover Auditorium. Right now we're in the process of finalizing our moderators for the debate, looking into the Daily Campus, looking into the political science department, and also advertising the event. We're working closely with Omar on that. Soon we'll have a Facebook event for that with graphics and also flyers. Hopefully will be going up soon in Laurel Hall and Oak Hall, where a lot of political science majors will be passing through to hopefully we can get that room packed. There are about 185 seats, so the Eventbrite for that, which is where people can register to attend the event, will be sent out. I believe I sent it out at the beginning of this meeting to the USG listserv. So if anyone is interested in attending that from 7 to 8, feel free to register. We're also looking for volunteers, but we'll have more updates on that event coming soon. But it's really been a great, effort by my vice chair Matthew Zantzowitz and a few of the people of our committee who have been really doing a great job in getting this set up. This is something that's been coming along for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the finished product. Also, at the end of this month, I was talking with Emily O'Hara from PERD. They're having a ballot ready party, which is a party to get people registered to vote, to get people engaged before the election, and giving them information before the midterm election this November. They wanted us to have a table at that event. We're looking into promotional items for that, which will be getting quotes and approving money, hopefully, this meeting on Friday. So I'm really looking forward to that, having a table there. We also discussed, last year we had a legislative reception with some of our state legislators, which went really well. At the end of last year, we talked about doing a similar reception for the town, which would be town leaders and people interested in, town and state affairs coming to that event, that are leadership. We decided that having one big reception, which will cut down costs of catering, which would allow more people to get in the room this April, will be planned. So that'll be a big long-term thing for our committee that I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully we can get more people from the town, people from town gown, and people from the state legislature to come to that event. Just a couple more things on this agenda. We had Sergeant Keith Timmy from the state troopers in Mansfield come to speak to our committee. We had a very lively discussion on some of the things he deals with in town and some of the issues that go on between Mansfield and Yukon, and how we can work together to solve that. We had a great discussion on his role in the community and look forward to having him back in the future. And finally, I brought this up a few times, but I had the opportunity to speak with Dennis Mima, Senator Mima, about the potential for a mental health module proposed to the state level to possibly Senator Flexer, Representative Haddad, working with them in the future. I know he's just recently been appointed as the chair of the subcommittee dealing with that in student services. Congratulations, Dennis. So hopefully we'll begin reaching out to people at the state level to discuss that and to discuss how we'll go about improving mental health programs and modules that will be implemented in the long term at orientation. But that is the end of my report. Do you all have any questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you. So now we will move into the report of the BP Chief of Staff. There is none. So seeing none, we'll move into the report of the President's Chief of Staff. Mr. Mazzara.
So awkward with this one. Hi guys. Two quick things for me. So you should have gotten 2 emails from me today. The first is asking if you're interested in going to the presidential search forum. So just making your student voice heard, giving feedback on what you want from the next UConn president. It'd be really cool to have a lot of USG representation there. So I think I said the survey's due Friday at noon. So please respond to that, and then someone will reach out to you about the forums. And my other note is that the student trustee candidate election packets are out. So if you know anyone interested, or if you yourself are interested, they're out. And that is all from me.
Thank you very much. Well, now we're moving to the report of the Chief Justice. Seeing as he's not here, we will now move into my report. So, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to all of you, new senators. It's nice to see you all here. So obviously, as Speaker of the Senate and the head of the legislative body, this was one of the most important things on our docket, was to make sure that all of you were sworn in and here. So it's very good to see all of you. Going forward, we're going to be later tonight, you may have noticed on the agenda, nominating a deputy speaker and legislative coordinator to fill out the remaining spots in Senate leadership in order to make sure we're up to full strength to help with all your new senator needs and make sure you're all well trained to deal with this and feel comfortable in the Senate. Furthermore, next week is our first caucus. Well, I'll talk about this more during announcements and discussion, but next week specifically in our caucus, we will be having a member of the university come to speak to us about sexual harassment training. We're mandated as a Tier 3 organization to put all of our members through that, so you are expected to attend caucus in general, but specifically that one is something that is very important, and we expect to see you out. Going forward in the future, we will also be training all of you when it comes to how to write legislation, when it comes to Robert's Rules, so you feel comfortable within the body and can act on the passion that you undoubtedly all feel. Finally, Parliamentarian Contreras has been working diligently, I'm sure as all of you have noticed, to make sure all the office hours are submitted and set up and all our committee appointments are submitted and set up. So those will be coming out sometime next week, and we'll be able to go forward from there. Once those are out, you're expected to attend them again, unless there is some sort of, you notify us in some way, and we can deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But all in all, it's very good to see you all, and I look forward to working with you for the rest of the year. So, are there any questions for me? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into the report of the comptroller, who's indisposed. So, seeing none from her, we'll move into the report of the vice president.
Hello everyone, I hope you all, sorry about that, I hope you all are doing well. First of all, thanks to everyone who came to orientation. I had a great time, and it was so great to get to know so many of you, and I'm looking into the audience and I noticed a couple of faces that weren't there. Don't worry, you're gonna get to know us, and I'm really excited for this upcoming year. Also, expect an LGL email for tomorrow, for sure. Since you all were just confirmed today, that'll be a great experience for you guys to fill out that form, and you guys are really excited, hopefully, about getting paired up with someone. For those of you who've been in the organization for over a year and or are on the e-board, you will be serving as mentors. And those of you who are newer will be mentees, and that'll be a great experience to have someone who's been here for a while to help lead you in your endeavors in USG. Just to reiterate what Omar was talking about earlier, Indigenous Peoples Week, the first kickoff event just happened. I just came back from running that an hour ago, and we're going to be having more events next week, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. Additionally, USG will potentially be collaborating with the Native American Cultural Society as well as Indigenous Peoples Day Committee, as they are tabling all next week for UConn students to sign their names on a petition to have Columbus Day be converted to Indigenous Peoples Day here at UConn, which is a movement that's been happening across the nations at dozens of other universities. If you're interested in potentially helping sponsor legislation that I plan on writing, please let me know after the Senate. Any questions? Probably not, because Columbus Day is not a day off either. Any other questions? Yes.
Rather than wipe out Columbus Day, I know it's a lot of universities across the country that are a combination of both of them. So instead of getting rid of the Columbus Day education, is there any way that we can kind of work together and keep Columbus Day, but also keep Indigenous Peoples Day, so that we can kind of learn from both sides?
So, I would invite you to come to the Indigenous Peoples Day Committee. It's a combination of different student, staff, and faculty members that have been working on this for the past several weeks, and we'd love to hear your input. As of now, the tabling component and what that entails and what the sheet says is kind of finalized, but if you want to give your opinion, please let us know and we can talk from there. Yes?
How do we get involved in that?
Yeah. Or talk to me after Senate. Any other questions?
Alright, seeing no questions, we'll now move in the report. Well, that wasn't English. We will now move into the report of the president.
Hi everyone, it's great to see you all. I was so happy with orientation to see all your faces and it looked like everyone had a good time. As I mentioned last Saturday, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or any of the exec members or just any other members who have been here for a while. Feel free to reach out to them and they'll answer your questions. Over the past week, I've been sick, so unfortunately, I have not been answering as many emails as I usually do, and things have been slowed down. But now I'm back and better than ever, so you should be nervous, right? But I'm ready to be back, and I'm working on a few different things. I have some meetings set up, and as you've seen, I'm working on getting student representation for our University Senate committees. So you'll see today, or on the agenda, we actually do have a few nominees that will be going through Senate, and we will be hopefully approving for their appointment. But we still have some committees that need representation. If you're interested in them, please let me know. As soon as Senate is over, I'd like to make sure that we get some letters of intent going so that we can look forward in getting those seats filled. And those committees are the following: Senate Enrollment, Senate Growth and Development, Faculty Standards, Senate Diversity, one more seat for that, the Delta General Education Committee, the Distinguished Professor Selection Award Committee, the University Diversity Council, and the Community Resource Team. So I sent out an email again with more information about all of those committees, so you can go back and look at that. And you can always just ask me if you want any more information in regards to those. So yeah. Last week I met with the Vice President of Student Affairs. We had a dinner with a lot of Tier 3 leaders and leaders of different organizations on campus, such as the cultural centers, and that was really great. I was able to talk to them and see, get feedback in regards to what issues they want USG to be working on campus and how we can collaborate. We got a lot of good ideas, so I will be looking to put together and compile all that information and invite relevant administration to come in to speak to us and to them in regards to the issues that they brought up, which was great. It was nice to get to kind of put the face to the names and see who was representing who, so I know exactly who to go to when it comes to different issues that we bring up as an organization. And another thing I will be working on is picking ex officio seats. So I'll be working with our speaker to select which departments or organizations will be represented here as an ex officio. So I have a few ideas, and I'll be going through that with Josh. I was trying to do that last week, but unfortunately, again, I was sick. So hopefully we'll get the ball rolling on that, and we will have them ready, or we'll have an idea ready for the next Senate meeting. So, as of now, I think that's it for me. You'll be hearing a lot more in terms of my initiatives soon, since I will be having those meetings in the next couple of weeks, which is really great. So, does anyone have any questions for me? Josh?
I'm not sure if this is a subcommittee or meeting of the University Senate, but have you sent out a letter of intent for the transportation?
No, so I have not done that yet. That is definitely a committee that we will be sending letters of intent for, especially considering the current issues in regards to that. But yeah, no, I wanted to make sure we got the university committees first because those were asked for. So, yes, Dennis.
Does University Senate have any letters of intent? Could I ask what the responsibilities would be if you're not University Senate?
Yes, so right now we are filled for University Senate in particular. We have 5 candidates for that, and you will be informed of them tonight. But usually if you are nominated to or appointed to the University Senate Committee, you attend those meetings once a month on Mondays, and they're from 4 to 6 p.m. It's just meeting with all various faculty members, administrators, to talk about current issues on campus and the relevant things that they are working on.
And
all of the different positions meet on Monday once a month?
No, so they have a Senate meeting, so those are the once a month on Mondays, 4 to 6. And then you have the various different committees. So as we do here at USG, we have various different committees that meet on different days. And those meet, that information is all online, and I did hyperlink them in my original email. So if you are interested, please feel free to let me know. We can discuss that further. No problem. Anyone else? Okay.
Thank you. All right. We've already had the report of the Public Relations Director, so now we will be moving into the agenda item of old business. Just for clarifying, for newer senators, old business is whatever business hasn't been attended to from last Senate if it runs too long, or in the case of last Senate, we didn't have enough senators to vote on anything, so all of that, the stuff on that agenda got pushed to this one. This is where we deal with it. So, the first item on the agenda is a motion regarding the nomination of Sandia Sinapala to the Senate Diversity Committee. We have a motion. Motion goes to McCormick. Second goes to O'Connor. So for the first item of discussion, I will turn the mic over to President Apia so she can accept the nomination on behalf of the nominee and then explain why she thought this nominee was.
Hello everyone. Okay, so I am looking to nominate Sandia Sinapala to the Senate Diversity Committee. She's been in USG for, I think, for the past year or so. She's done a great job. She served as Deputy Speaker last year, and she proved to be really great and very hardworking. And she's personally passionate about diversity issues, and this was her way of being involved in that and really taking the first step forward and giving feedback. So yeah, I would like to accept the nomination on her behalf.
Well, there cannot be questions for the nominee, seeing she's not here. So, are there any points of discussion? Any questions? All right. This is a confirmation vote, so it requires a 2/3 majority to pass. But seeing that there's no points of discussion, we're now going to move into a vote. All those in favor of the nomination, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Something I do want to say as well is if we ever have a controversial vote, something you feel is split, and we do a voice vote as we just did, and you feel that we should do, that I don't call the result correctly, you can call division, which then forces me as the chairperson of the body to have a standing vote where all the ayes stand up and all the nays stand up, so we count. We'll now move into the second item, which is a motion regarding the nomination of Dylan DeMora to University Senate. We have a motion from Reynolds, second from Zanzibar. What?
Before I make the motion, I was looking through new business and all of the nominees to the University Senate were motioned to new business. And I was wondering whether Dylan being mentioned twice was.
So that's actually a very good point, Chairperson Reynolds. All the nominees are addressed later in new business, so actually we can move past this item of old business because we can deal with the nominee specifically later. So he's already included. When it comes to being mentioned twice, we can move past this one and move on to another item. So I can motion unanimously to table the motion, and if there are no objections to it, it is so moved. Does anyone object to me tabling the motion, and so we can move on? Okay, good. So next, we will. There's a motion regarding the nomination of Xinyi Chen to the ISSS Student Advisory Board. Again, I will yield the floor to President Apia so she can speak on behalf of the nominee.
Hi everyone, again. So as many of you may know or may not know, Xinyi Chen is our executive advocacy consultant for this year, and she's very much so advocated on behalf of international students in her first year of USG, and many people know that she is very involved when it comes to that. She served on the board last year, and she is looking to serve again, and she's worked very hard, particularly in reference to the visa compliance fee for international students. So she's a great advocate, and I'm very happy to have her be my nominee for this board.
Thank you. It's been brought to my attention that I did not get a motion in the second on this. So we'll start with a motion from Contreras, a second from Douglas. So, heard the discussion. Are there any other points or motions, discussion on the floor? Senator Brent.
I have the privilege to meet with some administrators with Shaggy last year regarding the visa compliance fee. And her knowledge of the issue and her ability to work with administrators and actually bring in other students that were concerned about this into the conversation was something that could be an asset to every board she serves on, specifically this one, but also should be a model for the organization. How we should advocate for things like that. So I definitely say she's a huge asset on this, and she's a model for how the rest of the organization should be advocating for the students.
Thank you. Also, in the future, we're going to ask that if you do decide to speak, that you do come up here and speak into the mic, just as so everyone in the body can hear. Do you a motion or would you like to speak? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, you can just. What we'll do is we'll pass the mic around. But what you should do is stand up when you speak. That way, the whole body can see you.
If Senator DeMoro's motion is accepted in a second, should there at least be some discussion on it before the next motion is accepted?
So because of the fact that I motioned to table it unanimously and there was no objection to it, that motion takes precedence in the same way that a motion to end debate on that, to move to the previous question, would take precedence on that sort of thing. So it was a little confusing, and I apologize for that, but by Robert's rules, we have about it. And I'll take that right back. Any other questions regarding the nominee? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? On the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. So now we will move, there is a bill regarding the Student Services Advocacy Agenda. I need a motion. Motion from Senator Pan, second to Senator Mima. Now we move into the discussion. I will turn the mic first over to Chairperson Pan so that he may talk about his agenda, his advocacy agenda.
So this is our advocacy agenda for Student Service Committee. Basically highlights our initiatives that we hope to push this year and our scope of advocacy. It has been edited, discussed, and passed through the committee table, so if anybody has any edits to suggest now, feel free to comment. That's it.
Thank you, Chairperson Pan. So just to elaborate a little, I'm going to temporarily yield to myself for the benefit of the new senators to describe what this advocacy agenda is. So the idea behind this is every one of our standing committees takes on initiatives and will pass legislation that will be forwarded to us that reflects whatever specific field that they fall under. To ensure that Senate has oversight of those committees, they're required to forward us an advocacy agenda every year, which details all of the initiatives they will take on, all of the plans they have for the future, just to ensure that if we disagree with this or wish to make changes to it, we have the option to do so. So that is what this is for the Student Services Committee. Are there any questions? discussion, a question or a point of discussion? We have a motion to amend from Senator Rotina. What is the motion? Okay, there's a motion to strike public from the title. Does that motion have a second? Second to Douglas. All right, I'm going to open it up for discussion. I actually am going to ask that people come up to here and talk to the body. It just makes it a little better. So for all of you who did ask earlier, I wasn't just ignoring you. That box is the one that controls the lights, and I believe right now it's locked. So unfortunately the answer may be no, but I will check again.
Good, I'll just talk about it, it's fine. Hey everyone, so this isn't a major adjustment to the agenda. I read it, it's fine. Good job, Derek, and all the services committee. Just for the sake of outside viewers who are reading this, I want to make it so it's more accurate because we're serving students, like we're undergraduates in government. It's not for the public benefit, I guess. So I think the word public can be a little confusing. So I just wanted to strike that. That's all.
Thank you, Senator Rotina. Is there any further discussion on this amendment? If the chairperson would like, if he feels this amendment is friendly, he can accept it as such. If not, then we will move to a vote. In that case, there is no need of a vote. It will just be changed to reflect that. So what happened there for you newer members, when we make a motion to amend and then second it, the author of the legislation can choose to accept the amendment as friendly. This prevents us from having to go through votes and that sort of thing when the the original author of the legislation agrees with that. So it is not necessary that the author of the legislation does this. If they feel it violates the premise of the bill they're proposing, they can of course take a stand against it, but in this case it was chosen to be accepted as such. So now we will move back into discussion on the advocacy agenda as a whole. Are there any points or motions regarding this agenda? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. So next, we will move into the student services. Oh yeah, and for future, so the way we're going to do this is no, right? There are you may clap, and in fact it is encouraged as parliamentarian Patrice pointed out to me that you clap after legislation is passed if you support it. Of course, we advocate that. Or in the case of nominations, it's okay to show acclamation in that regard. But when it comes to snapping or even clapping when motions are being discussed, that has a potential of swaying votes in favor of legislation or against legislation, making it seem like support is more on one side or the other, and can make it difficult for undecided people to feel as if they have a right to make their own decision. So no, there will not be slapping. Definitely be slapping. But there will not be snapping or clapping while motions are being considered. Good question. So now we'll be considering our resolution concerning student services standing rules. We're going to need a motion to discuss this. Motion goes to Moore. Second goes to Reynolds. For all you new members back there, it is a little scary, I understand, but if you want to get your name on the minutes and written down, you can just motion, and I promise I will choose you over one of the 5 people in the front of the room who have motioned everything else. But anyway, I'm going to turn the floor over to Derek Fan again, so he may discuss student services standing rules. Wait, no, he's going to come up here and he's going to speak.
So this is
So yes, I'm going to yield to myself again to help elucidate for newer members what this is. It's another check on our standing committees. As we have done in Senate, some of you were probably not there for it, but as we've done in Senate, every deliberating body must pass standing rules that they will abide by to ensure that they follow the rules of decorum and respectability. Our standing committees must do the same thing, and those rules, after being voted on by the committees, must come to Senate for consideration as another measure of oversight. So these are the rules specifically for student services. Are there any points, discussion on the floor? Senator Worth? Go ahead.
Do these rules need to be reapplied every year?
Yes, it's a very good point of inquiry. So the way it works is every year the committee has to re-up its rules. At any point during our tenure as Senate, we can motion to change the rules as well. The committee can motion to change their rules, but they only have to be redone at the end of every year, at the end of every chairperson's term and tenure. So, and the Senate standing rules are the same way. We will have a copy of our standing rules sent to all you new senators, so you know what it entails specifically, but it has items like the fact that we must wear business formal to Senate. It starts at 6:30. When legislation must be submitted. All that sort of stuff is under our standing rules. That can be amended at any point during the year by us, and so too can the standing committee rules. So. Senator Rotino.
Just for the sake of clarification, like a question to you, how is this a resolution supposed to be charged?
So we'll talk about this more as we go into our different forms of legislation, but specifically, resolutions specifically deal with non-binding positions of the undergraduate student government Senate and also internal Senate business. So when we go to pass our own standing rules, when we want to create a committee that is specifically under Senate, this is what we do. We propose we just propose a resolution. As it does not affect the executive branch or any other branch of government, it's not required, the president does not get to sign it, but as such is not enforceable on the executive branch. Since these committees are, specifically the committees are right underneath Senate and are as such subject to our oversight, us approving their rules would be in the form of a resolution as it deals with Senate business specifically. So.
I have a point of order, which means that that's not necessarily like someone specific, but like just in general that we are violating the rules of order. So just to keep it simple, if you have a question during Senate, specifically pertaining to the matter being discussed, would be a question about like the standing rules itself or what exactly they mean, like you have been during this meeting, then it would be a point of information. So instead of saying a point of inquiry, just keep it simple, say a point of information, and just say that, oh, I have a question about this, like after you say the point of information. If it's a question about the Roberts rules itself or procedure how we're doing things, that's a point of parliamentary procedure. Just to remind you all, it's also on the back of your placards here. If you do not have a placard yet, then there is likely someone around you who does, so just ask them, don't be shy. And again, the questions pertaining to the matter being discussed, what we are discussing, the item on the floor, is a point of information. Anything else about Robert's rules, you just don't know what's going on, that's a point of parliamentary procedure. Thank you.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Petrels. And those points of information, points of parliamentary procedure are interruptible. They don't require seconds. You can just raise your placard and say point of information or point of parliamentary procedure. So, in that regard, are there any other questions or points of discussion? Also, as to yield to myself quickly, when it comes to discussion, what that really is if you've already decided your position on something and want to speak either for or against it, then you would stand up and discuss. If you have, like we said, a question specifically, that would be a point of information. Are there any other points, promotions, any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. So next, we will move, there is a motion to approve no more than $10,000 for $10,040 to community outreach in terms of break training. So I am going to motion to table this by unanimous consent. We will later in this meeting be addressing the budget, entire budget of the Senate USG, and this item is included under the budget, so it is not necessary for us to address it now. So I'm going to motion to table unanimously unless there are any objections. It is 1,040. I just am really bad at reading numbers. But later in the meeting, when we discuss the budget as a whole, this will be a line item in that budget. So I just want to move past that, give us some more time to consider that. Does anyone object to me moving unanimously to table this? Not seeing none, it is so moved. So second is a motion to approve no more than $2,500 for the funding system improvements. I'm going to, again, motion unanimously to table this because it is addressed later in our budget. Are there any objections to my motion? You are indeed correct. If you motion to table, it's assumed indefinitely unless you specify an amount of time. But for the sake of clarification, you are indeed correct. I motion to table this indefinitely by unanimous consent. Does anyone object? Seeing no objections, so as we just addressed the budget, now coming up is an act concerning the fall 2018 budget. We're going to need a motion. Motion to Glassell, second tonight. So first things first, I will turn this discussion over to President Apia so she can give a preliminary presentation on the budget.
So unfortunately, our comptroller could not be here tonight. She wishes she could be, but I will be presenting the fall 2018 budget in her place. The budget should have been set in advance in addition to the fall 2017 and the spring 2018 budgets. So you should all have those in your emails. So if you have any questions, I believe there is a Google form so you can submit those questions, or you should have submitted those questions through that form, and I believe Josh will be able to answer those questions based on what Priyanka sent back in response. So if you have any questions, please hold until after I present the budget. I'd really appreciate it. So if everyone can everyone see that well? I'm not sure. You can have it on your laptops as well. So I'll just start off at the top. So the student fee for the first semester was $800,645. And for rollover, we had $224,852. So you can see our total revenue right there at $1 million. So that is what we have, I believe, for this year. And now we're right into our expenses, and you can see all the line items. If you could just go to, for each one I mentioned, if you could just go to the breakdown so that everyone can see that. Awesome. So the first one is academic affairs. As you can see, Priyanka is looking to allocate $7,000. So for them, they're looking to have $7,000 purely for their care package initiative. So every year, they provide care packages for students and support for their academic success during finals week. So this is for the fall semester, and they also do it for the spring semester, but right now we're focusing on just the fall. And so that's just $7,000. Next up is external affairs, and their line items include the Attorney General Forum, community outreach, and voter registration/engagement. And so you can just kind of see the descriptions of each item. The Attorney General Forum is looking to cost about $300, community outreach is $500, and voter registration is $1,000. Next up is the Student Development Committee. So they're looking to allocate money for a plaque. So this is for their community tree initiative. So they're looking to have a tree planted here on campus. The plaque will just be kind of like a dedication. And it'll just say that it was donated by the Student Development Committee. And so that will cost about $200. And then the next line item is the I Stand For Initiative shirts. So this is a collaboration with the NAACP to promote diversity among students, and that'll cost about $3,000. For student services, they have a few initiatives here for just different initiatives in regards to mental health and tampon time. So as you can see, they have Operation Husky Howl. That will be their online helpline. That will be peer-to-peer focused. So that's about $800. They have money allocated for mental illness awareness week. So this is for different items such as buttons, decorations, and things like that. Next up is the mental health first aid certification classes. So those, as Derek mentioned earlier today, they will be having those upcoming weeks. So that money is being allocated for that. And then finally, we have funding allocated for tampon time. So it's just a continuation of the initiative we've had in previous years. Next up is the executive committee. And so this is just our general cabinet budget. So in previous years, I believe historically, I think about 2 years ago or so, we were allocated about $25,000 for that, and it's slowly gone down in the last few years, and right now we're looking at just $10,000. So this is just for overall operations, advertising, promotional materials, and things like that. The Judiciary Committee is looking for money for equipment and supplies. So this is just for room reservations, gavels, the incentive program, so for Justice of the Month, and things like that. So that's about $2,000. The Comptroller is looking to have funding for the new text messaging system. So I don't want to go into it too much because she isn't here, but I believe, based on what she's told me, is that the text messaging system we're looking to put that in place just as a reminder for students that their funding requests are due at a certain time. So she thinks that this is a good way to really get in contact with students and make sure that we're reducing a lot of the confusion that comes with submitting funding requests and things like that. So that's about $200. For Senate, we are looking to allocate funding for room reservations. So, for example, like this room, and I believe the room downstairs for caucus, and then just general Senate amenities. So just incentive programs and placards and things like that. So that's about $2,000. And then we have our overall USG semesterly costs. So this is basically a compilation of all the different funding required for our operational procedures. So things like for staffing, SAIT charges, like tech, IT support, telephone charges, parking charges, business cards, just overall office and operational items, and that will be $132,180. Other expenses, so you can see here we have the New York Times, we have USG orientation, funding system improvements, and then the community outreach alternative break training. So the New York Times, as you may or may not know, again, we are looking to launch that for this year. It will be an all-digital platform for students to register and use. And we're looking to allocate about $9,000 for that. I know that we had originally, I think earlier in the year, new senators may not know this, but the overall cost was $27,000, but we were looking to actually have that reduced. And so because we are reducing that, and because we already are really well into the semester, we're looking to get information about interest and get those emails required for signups at the end of the semester, and then fully launch the program for the spring semester. So that will obviously hopefully reduce our costs for that. So that's about $9,000 here. USG orientation, so this is from last week. We have to pay for that, obviously, so that is where that funding comes from. We have funding system improvements, so we're looking to improve our inventory system, and Chief Justice Toomey was actually working on that. He's looking to create an online database to help improve our current inventory system, since we are anticipating an audit for this year, so we want to make sure that we are prepared for that. We do have all the information necessary to present when that comes. So that's about $2,500. And then we are looking to approve funding for the community outreach, alternative break training, and that's funding for the food for that training. And then we have finally our tier 2 funding, our costs. So this is just the overall cost, just to fund tier 2 for this semester. Obviously, this is our largest fee, just because we are trying to fund over 600 clubs. So these are the requests that we get every year, but this is always just our biggest line item. So. And you can see the total there at the bottom. Does anyone have any questions just right off the bat, just any surface level questions that I may be able to clarify or answer right now? Okay, Josh.
So the $550,000 allotted for allocation of tier 2 funding, that's just for the fall, right?
Yes.
We will be collecting another $1 billion or so.
I don't know the exact number, but yes, we will be looking to allocate more money for that. Yes. Yes. Or they're looking to, that's their budget for them. Mm-hmm.
So you can ask questions in this directly to her without points of information. Once there are no more questions for her, we will then move into discussion, which will then be, if you have any comments on the budget, you can come up to discuss. If you have any further questions that you feel should be asked to the general body, then you can make points of information. But otherwise, for now, this will be more.
And generally, again, so this was sent to your email, so if you had any detailed questions, you should have submitted those via the Google form so that they could be answered by Priyanka. Does anyone have any further questions for me in terms of clarification from what I just read? I know I kind of just went that really quickly. Today, see Priyanka isn't here. I don't know. Amendments.
So, if someone were to make a motion to amend, we'd have to deal with it. But otherwise, I would suggest, since she's not here and we do need a budget, I just want to make it clear to all new senators that we at any point during the semester, once we pass the budget, can bring it back up and break it down into individual line items and amend it however we so choose. So if there is something you feel you want to talk about but cannot be discussed specifically with the comptroller this evening, then you may want to hold off on that for a little while. But if there are line items in dealing with certain committees and the committee chairs are here, we can always yield to them to have them talk about what the initiative would entail and why they requested that amount of money. So we'll do our best to work around and make sure all your questions are answered, because obviously this is something that's very important. But we'd also like to pass this if at all possible, so we have money allocated. So.
Any further questions for me? Okay, awesome.
Thank you. So I was actually a couple